and also to hear from the pupils as well. So just an introduction to the team. You'll see, I'm just going down my images here. So Caroline Crookes, who is Deputy Head. She's Deputy Head Teaching and Learning. And Tessa Davey. Tessa is Deputy Head Pastoral. We also have Vicky Paice, and Vicky heads up Key Stage 1. That's children who are in Year 1 and Year 2, and those children are 6 and 7 years old. And then we have Rachel Fleming, and Rachel heads up the Early Years Department. That's our nursery and our reception classes, and those children are from 3 to 5 years old. And of course, you'll have seen Eloise as well. So welcome, and that's the team we have in front of us this morning for you to ask any questions you like.
So we have our first question. What is the criteria for admission? Any difference when joining during the term? Caroline, would you like to answer this one? Oh, you're on mute.
Haven't done it for a while. So for early years and Key Stage 1, those children that would like to join the school are invited to a morning or a day to spend in the school, and that it's a very sort of informal day, and it's really a chance for the teachers to get to know the children and get to feel how they would best fit, if they would best fit into the school. And then we do more of a formal assessment once they reach for entry into Year 3, 4, 5 and 6. And they come in for the day. They sit a maths assessment, an English assessment, and an MBR assessment. And then in the afternoon, again, they get to join the classes, get to meet some of our girls, and get to join in and get to experience Headington. So it's very much a chance for the girls to get to enjoy Headington as much as us to get to meet and enjoy, get to know them a little bit. And we're really looking for, very all-round pupils that have got academic potential, but also are good at learning and seem interested and engaged in all that we're doing. Does that answer the question, Eloise, do you think?
Right. Yes, I think so. I think that's great. Obviously, if you've got any questions regarding admissions, I'm the admissions coordinator, so please do get in touch, and over the coming weeks, and I can send you whatever information you need. Obviously, at the moment, we're unable to bring anybody into school, which is such a shame. We're hoping maybe over the summer term, it will be a little bit more possible. And if we can welcome people into the school, then we really can't wait to do so. At the moment, we're doing everything online. So if we're doing any assessments for the older years, Year 3 upwards, we're doing that online. Otherwise, there are some Google Meets with the head of Key Stage. So Mrs. Fleming and Miss Paice will do a meeting with you online as well, with yourselves and your daughters. But we can arrange all of that as and when. Just get in contact. Right, so the next question, I'm just going to show up. To your average class sizes, number of form entries, and the house system, if any. Who would like to answer that?
Shall we divvy it up? So if I do class sizes, form entries, and then Tessa can talk a little bit about the houses.
Yep.
The prep school. So average class sizes, we go up to 20. Younger children tend to be in smaller groups. So that would be years up to the end of Year 2. Those classes tend to be slightly smaller, but from Year 3 upwards, they are around 20. There are 2 forms per year group, which is fantastic. At the end of every year as well, we mix those classes. So really making sure that those children are used to working with others as well. So we try and avoid cliques forming. Number of forms per year group, there are 2, as I said. In some year groups where we have larger numbers, then we may extend to 3. So Year 6 is usually 3 forms. It has been Year 3 forms for very many years, and will be next year as well. So 3 forms in Year 6. And where we have a bulge, as I said, so our current bulges, we have a very large Year 3 group, and currently have a very large Year 5 group as well. So we tend to put the staffing in where the need is. So if we do have larger groups, then there may be an occasional year group where there are 3 forms within that year group. Tessa, do you want to talk about houses?
Yes, we have a thriving house system. We have 4 houses: Oak, Chestnut, Beech and Redwood. And the girls are allocated to a house, and siblings stay in the same houses throughout their time in Headington. We have various inter-house competitions and activities throughout the year. Quite a strong house element is in our sports department. We run all sorts of sporting events across the houses. In year 6, we allocate, or we give some of the year 6s the responsibility of being house captains. So we have 2 house captains per house in year 6, all the way through the year. And they are also in charge of running some of the house assemblies. That's obviously in normal circumstances, although they are having a go at doing virtual equivalents at the moment. So the house system is brilliant, and the girls earn house points for good behavior, for effort, all kinds of things. And then at the end of every term, there is a winning house, and they get a house treat, whether it be wearing home clothes or having a garden party or a cinema experience or a disco, whatever. And they look forward to the treat of the term. So that's our house system. You're on mute.
On mute.
Apologies. Next question about Christian values. Who would like to answer that?
So I'm quite happy to chat about Christian values. So the school was founded over 100 years ago, so 1915, and it was a group of Christians who came together and had a real vision for girls' education. And that was quite amazing in those times, especially if you think of what was happening economically and globally at that time as well. So founded on strong Christian values, and those values continue to this day. It means as we do our assemblies and major events, we focus on Christian festivals, and then we also have our bare values, the first one of which is being kind, and that permeates across the school. We do have a real focus on being kind and what kindness looks like, kindness to others and kindness to yourself as well. We have, I spoke about assemblies, and those it's very important that we look at other faiths as well. So Christianity is the main faith. We follow the festivals, but we also look at major festivals in other faiths too, mainly because of the nature of Oxford and the nature of our school population, where we have a really good, strong cultural mix. So Christianity, main faith. However, in RE lessons, we look at other faiths. We look at other main faiths such as Islam. We look at Sikhism, and we look at Judaism too. Our chaplain, Tom Howell, he's a reverend, and he comes and does assemblies within the prep school. He also likes to get involved in prep school live too. So we have a prayer space. It's an annual event, and it's a marvellous opportunity for the girls just to stop and be still. And that's a great experience for them, of those who have a faith and those who don't have any faith at all, but a chance to stop and reflect. All sorts of activities going on, and we give them opportunities to pray to their God, whichever religion they focus on. So I hope that's given you a bit of information there.
Great, many thanks, Jane. Moving on to the next question. How does academic streaming start at the prep school? Are you happy to answer that, or should I pass over to Caroline?
I think Caroline can answer that one.
Yeah. I can answer it, and then I think I'll pass on to Rachel and Vicky, because there's quite a lot that goes on in early years and Key Stage 1 as well. So we don't formally stream the pupils at the prep school. They're in mixed ability classes. However, there's a huge amount that goes on to support different ability groups and also the individuals, because there are times during the year and when we're on different topics and things where some children might get stuck and find it more challenging than at other times in the year, depending on what it is they're learning. So we have a brilliant learning development team who will support individuals one-to-one, but they will also take out groups of children from the classroom, or sometimes come into the classroom and work with groups of children to support them and maybe run a sort of mini catch-up, 6-week catch-up session to help children that just need to go over something again. And then at the other end, we have Rachel Clinch, who runs our Brilliant Stretch and Challenge programme and supports those most able pupils and those with particular strengths. And she will work alongside those. She runs our Stretch and Challenge Club, which they all go to. And she also has individual programmes for those, certainly in year 6, for those most able children, getting alongside them and really making sure they're making the most of everything at the prep school. And then, yes, so I think Vicky could probably pick up about read writing, something like that.
Yes, I think Vicky's internet is having issues.
Or Rachel, talk about it.
We'll put you on to Rachel first, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm more than happy to talk. So right from nursery and into reception, we have children that we differentiate our activities. So in phonics and maths in particular, we'll differentiate activities and questioning, very key in using the questioning that we're doing, so that everybody is supported in their academic journey, and we're able to pitch the questioning and the activities specifically to each child. As we move through the school and into reception, of course, the ability to differentiate expands, and each child will be moved between phonics groups as and when we assess regularly every 6 to 8 weeks, so that we're very flexible in that differentiation. But that spreads right through all of the areas of the curriculum, so that we're able to support children. We're looking all of the time and treating each child as an individual, so that we can see the different strengths and the areas of development that are required. What are those next steps in learning, so that we know exactly where to pitch the work and the learning for everybody.
Oh, great. Thank you, Rachel. Vicky's just dropped off again. We might just come back to Vicky when she's back online with that question, if that's okay. I'll just quickly move on to the next one and then we can come back. How do we evaluate a year 5 student joining year 6 without prior coding or Mandarin experience? I'm going to go back to Caroline.
Yes, so really when pupils are joining, we're looking for a good standard in maths and English, generally above average nationally. And then strength, sort of skills that they may feel they're not so confident in, such as coding and languages. That we will support those children in the classrooms. They wouldn't be at a disadvantage by not having covered some of the curriculum when they join us. We can catch them up easily.
Great. And what's the school stance on homework?
So homework, there are sort of several purposes for homework. One of them is to consolidate and practice skills that they've learnt in school, certainly early on, their sort of sounds and reading, and then as they go up their times tables. But then also it's as they get older and into Key Stage 2, there's more focus on getting them into practice of the whole system, practice of going home and doing some work at home. But it also gives the children a chance to explore areas that they found particularly interesting or they're passionate about, and sort of maybe spend a bit longer on a project. So there are several reasons for homework. We try not to give them too much because their days are very full, but there is definitely a homework program in place that we follow.
Thank you. Can we just quickly go back to Ms. Paice, Vicky? There was a question earlier regarding academic streaming, and we were going to come to you, but unfortunately you dropped off. So if we come back to you quickly, it was this one. How does academic streaming start at the prep school? We were just saying, Rachel spoke about early years. So if you, oh no, oh dear, we've gone again. We'll try to come back to that in a minute then. Okay, another question. Thank you very much for putting this on. You're very welcome. A question about the academic employment background of the staff. Jane, would you like to answer this?
Oh, yes, I would love to answer this, and I really hope what I say is true. Now, on the website, you will have, I know website is going to be refreshed, but that will give you a good list of prep school staff. and their academic backgrounds. I would say for the staff, we have an amazing staff, very able, very experienced. All are qualified, so fully qualified teachers. We do have some who've had natural sciences backgrounds. So Dr. King, who leads our science across the schools, she is a strong scientist. She's Dr. King, and really flies the flag for science, working scientifically. But other staff as well, we are so fortunate with the staff we have. So some of our staff have been working in, I was going to say in the real world. I didn't really mean that. But so, for example, our one of our year 3 form teachers was an architect ahead of changing career and then coming to work within the prep school as a form teacher. And she heads up the art and design program. Matt Smith, who heads up our computing, he also was working in that field ahead of training to become a teacher, and leading being part of our STEM team within the school as well. All the staff you see in front of you today are all fully qualified, highly experienced, amazing staff. I'm very fortunate to have them on my team. But I would say, do have a look at the website, because that will give you an idea of staff and their qualifications. They are a fantastic bunch.
Great, thank you. What is the stance on educating children about racial issues? Do you teach anti-racism or have a different approach for giving children of all races confidence? Who would like to answer that one? Jane, you happy to? Oh.
Yes, of course, yes. So this is something that's very much on the agenda at the moment. Just to say about the prep school and the population of the prep school, it is a fantastic place to work. And part of that is because of we have such a range of different cultures and languages. So in the prep school, we have over 30 different languages spoken by the girls. They come from all across the world. And what's really marvelous is when I was talking a bit about faiths as well, it gives all of them a really strong grounding in being inclusive and appreciating other people's culture. And we use every opportunity to find out, to learn from the pupils. So if they have been celebrating a festival in their culture, they will come and they'll talk about it to their class in their show and tell sessions. They may lead. We've had pupils who've come in and led an assembly on an aspect of their faith or their culture as well. So yes, it is at the fore. It's within the ether of the school. Teaching anti-racism. There's of year 6 pupils, actually year 5 and 6, as they go through the school, they become increasingly aware of global issues, and we have a weekly, I was going to call it event. It's really a part of our PSHE program called Votes for Schools. And that gives us a weekly topic, a topical issue, and encourages the pupils to find out about that issue. They learn about it, and then they're encouraged to have a really healthy debate. So racism features very strongly within that Votes for Schools program, and a whole range of issues as well. Brexit, topical issues will be featured within that program. We do aim to celebrate the individual. We get to know the child as a child, and it's so interesting thinking about diversity and being inclusive, and that's absolutely essential. We have our diversity working party across the whole school, but when a child's name is mentioned, we think about the child. We get to know the child as a person. We wouldn't think around that. It's the individual who matters to all of us, and we encourage, as I've said, we encourage all our girls to be inclusive and to celebrate. We have girls from every continent, to celebrate that diversity. It's a great place for them to start off in their education. It's a very healthy place for them to be.
Brilliant, thank you. And hello, Vicky.
Hello, I'm sorry, I'm having a lot of trouble getting thrown out.
No problem. The next question is primarily for yourself, and I wonder if you could do both this one and touch on the academic streaming part of the previous question at the same time.
I didn't see the previous question, sorry.
Okay. Previous question was just how we do academic streaming, and Mrs. Fleming mentioned that if we cater for all abilities, and if they need a bit of stretching, then they will be stretched and likewise supported. And so it was just how through Key Stage 1 that would also take place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The only time that we formally group the children by ability is for.
Oh no. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. We seem to have a lot of.
I mean, I can talk a little bit more about. I could talk a bit more about Key Stage 1 as well. I mean, I think very similar to reception, the children in Year 1 are streamed for phonics, differentiated just like in reception, and we're very fortunate when we are normally all in school together. We can differentiate and have groups right across the key stages from reception and into Year 1, so everybody is provided the correct level of learning, and we are able to provide very small groups as well. And I know that for maths that happens as well into Year 1, that they have a whole class teaching session which will be adult led, but then they are split into smaller groups for follow-on activities, so those can be differentiated accordingly as well. And the admission criteria for Year 1 students, what they would do is that if they're coming into Year 1 the following academic year, they would come and spend some time in our reception class with that cohort of children that they would move through into Year 1 with. We spend time working with them during a morning so that we see that how they interact with their peers, which of course is a crucial area to be able to flourish and fly, being confident, being able to join in activities, both adult-led activities, but also the children's learning, which we called active learning sessions, working together collaboratively, being able to persevere with the task. We'll be supporting them and seeing how they join together. We want children that have really good communication skills so that they can talk to their friends as well as their adults within the classroom. And then we would do a phonic assessment with them, because it's really key for us to know where they are in their phonic learning so that we can pitch their learning as soon as they start with us accordingly. But it's very much by seeing the child in with the setting and how they integrate themselves. We just want, as Miss Crookes mentioned earlier in the session, we want children who are engaged in their learning, who are interested, who are happy to communicate and confident with themselves and with their peers and the adults around them. So that's what we would do for students coming from different countries. If you're able to come and see us, what we are doing currently at the moment, of course, due to the lockdown, is we are having Google Meets with families online. So if you are in a different country currently, then we would be able to have a Google Meet, have a conversation. I was meeting with 2 families yesterday, and we asked for them to share toys and favourite stories. So we create a conversation so that we can see that your daughters would flourish and fly at Headington.
Thank you, Mrs. Fleming. Another question from Mr. Erdogan again. About main language not being English. I wonder if you could also touch on that at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as Mrs. Crouch has already mentioned, we have children, over 30 different languages spoken at the prep school. We have lots of children who start into early years and into Key Stage 1 where English is not their native language, but they are, we call EAL fluent, so English is additional language fluent or supported. So we have a very good supportive mechanism that the EAL teachers will come and work one-to-one with a small group or individual child to help them to build on their using vocabulary in English, as well as working with the children day to day in the activities that we do. So it is definitely not seen as an issue for children starting with us. And we would support your daughter all the way through to develop and extend her English language, both spoken and written. But this is why the phonics program that we use is really good in supporting that early language English.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rachel. We've got a question here about how the school has adapted to deal with remote learning for younger girls during the pandemic. Jane, are you happy to take that?
Well, if I start and then Caroline can, because Caroline really, and the rest of the team have been very key in remote learning. So the school's done a fantastic job and been very agile in its provision for remote learning, and the staff are very strong on their IT skills. All the while, I know we're having a few issues today. That's not the staff skills, that's more internet. So the programme, the coverage of the learning continues. We need to make sure that our high academic standards and those high expectations are maintained through our remote learning programme. And Miss Crookes and the rest of the team have worked really closely together, organising a timetable for each year group and working with the staff and thinking about how best to deliver the learning. So really, there is a real mixture. So it really is a hybrid package. The vast majority of the delivery, especially as they get older, is through live lessons with teachers online delivering the learning. And then also there are some recorded videos showing some aspects of the lesson. And the children can keep on referring to those videos, and there are notes. So these are sent out on a daily basis, coverage for the day. And Caroline, do you want to just pick up more on that? You're on mute, Caroline.
Yes, I'm happy to talk. I'm just thinking Rachel and Vicky will know more about the younger children. But yes, it's a real sort of mix of, we've got live sessions going on, there's activities provided, and videos that help support the teaching. And we deliver that through, so with the youngest children, through an app called Tapestry, which Rachel will be able to explain a little bit more about. And then into Key Stage 1 through an app called Seesaw. It means children are can very easily, or parents, very easily take photographs of work, make comments on work, and the teachers can see that work instantly and give feedback on it. So it's a very direct communication between home and school using that app, which I think has made the whole setup very successful, and has been able to support parents, particularly at home, in what they're trying to support their children in doing. Obviously, it gets much easier once we get into Key Stage 2, because the children are able to manage themselves much more easily. We've used mostly Google Classroom and a little bit of Seesaw, and the children are amazing at being able to access their lessons and join Google Meets independently, access all their work, have several tabs open at the same time, so they're flipping between things. And now we've got to the point where they're able to work in groups and teams and do collaborative work together, and then meet back with their teacher and discuss things. We can watch them doing their work live and add comments and support them. So it's a huge amount going on all the time, and very interactive with the children's learning. And as Jane mentioned, we are trying as best we can to make sure that their learning is staying at the high standard that it has always been. I don't know if Rachel or Vicky wants to add to that, particularly with Tapestry and Seesaw.
I think with Tapestry, just to say, it's been a fantastic app that you can instantly see work that's put up by parents from home, but we can also share work on there, so that we put our videos and on there for phonics or maths or any of our creative curriculum learning activities that we've been spending time at home, making them as active and engaging as possible. But we also offer those live lessons. So through Google Meet, we would meet live with everybody, both at Key Worker School and those children who are at home. So it really helps to keep that cohesive cohort of learning going together and working alongside you and your children. But we create websites as well, so that we have a storytime website where you can dip into stories read by each of the adults within the setting, keeping that pastoral care going as well. We've had recently some parents' evenings, both in early years and in Key Stage 1, and the feedback has been really positive from our parent cohort. They've been really pleased with the extent and depth of the remote learning provision.
Yeah, and so for Key Stage 1, we're doing at least 2 live sessions each day with the class as a whole and the children at Key Workers School. And then the children are able to access the activities, videos that we've also made then on Seesaw for them. They can upload their own work onto Seesaw. They can also record themselves, either video or an audio, so that we can have a dialogue going backwards and forwards on there. So we're able to give them feedback and next steps as we would do if we were at school. So it works really well. We email the parents the plan each evening for the next day, which has all the links to our websites, copies of the activities in case they can't come to the live lessons, so that we're in constant contact with the parents each day.
Thank you, Vicky. We've got a next one about pastoral care. Tessa, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, very much. So pastoral care is obviously paramount at Headington, and it comes in all sorts of forms. The main sort of point of contact for the girls is always their form teacher. They have a very close bond with their form teachers, partly through the small class sizes and the daily contact that they have. And that is extended through to the rest of the staff. So the communication between teachers, learning assistants, the learning development team is extremely strong. We meet regularly, informally and formally, to discuss the pupils' progress and their emotional needs and well-being. And where there are issues that arise and perhaps are discussed in a key stage meeting, we look at the best ways and the best members of staff to approach those needs. We also run throughout Key Stage 2 a program called AS Tracking, which is affective and social tracking of the girls. And it looks at, it's just an online assessment that they do twice a year to assess how they respond to certain potential obstacles. And it comes out just as information for the staff who've all been trained to interpret the data, where there may be, no guarantees, but there may be some difficulties that the children might face if they don't have the right tools. So we then put in strategies to prevent any crashes, if you like, along the way. And that is brilliant all the way through Key Stage 2. And then moving in year 6 into year 7 in the senior school, we have a particularly strong pastoral transition between the two schools, so that those in year 6 feel confident and ready to make that big adjustment to senior school. So pastoral provision is absolutely interwoven into everything that the school provides, both through academic lessons, and then the PSHE program is really strong. All sorts of things are discussed. Anything that comes through those lessons that we think needs to be taken further, either as a whole school approach. We have many different whole school initiatives where we might be trying to tackle a particular theme, and we would do so through assemblies or whole days of timetables or events that we might put on to focus on those key skills in promoting well-being across the school. And yes, I think that pretty much covers everything, although it comes through in all sorts of different ways. We also have a school counsellor, and girls are sometimes referred by their parents, by themselves, or by members of staff to go for a 6-week session just to learn how to talk through their issues and find strategies that will help them become even better, more well-rounded children. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Tessa. We've now got one about sports and hockey. Who would like to discuss that?
I'm quite happy to talk about sport and hockey. There is our sports program is very wide, and they do hockey on a weekly basis. So we sometimes do rotate. So sometimes there's a focus on hockey, sometimes a focus on netball. But as part of their weekly provision, they have a games lesson. They have other PE lessons as well and dance, and so masses of sporting provision. But they would have that on a morning. So they would go off just before 9. Oh, they'd arrive at senior school for 9, and then be doing their sporting session, be back here for morning break. So that a good long session on their game sessions. They also have a very wide co-curricular program. So under normal circumstances, we have 80 activities. Some of those are still happening online now, but a key number of them would be those that are sports based. So our hockey team, lots of opportunities for them. Miss Merrick, one of our sporting teachers, she's a strong hockey player herself. So there is a good emphasis on hockey, and the hockey team do very well indeed.
Thank you very much. Another question: do we take dates of birth into account when we are doing assessments? Caroline. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I keep doing that. Yeah, the short answer is yes. We very much take into account, if a child is born in the summer, then certainly in the younger years that could make a difference. And even as we do the assessments in the older years, all the assessments are adjusted by their age. So we get an understanding of how that's impacted on their learning. I think that's quite a short answer, really, Eloise.
That's great. That's
how old their daughter is, but definitely if they're in early years, we work very closely in partnership with parents. I had a conversation with a parent yesterday with a daughter who's a July birthday, and the impact that lockdown has had over the last 2 academic years, and whether they are ready to move into full-time reception. And I work very closely with those parents. So definitely it's a conversation and a partnership between home and school to work out which academic year group your daughters will be best placed in. And I know that goes right through into Key Stage 1 as well.
Great. Oh, thank you. Just quickly touching back on the streaming for maths and English. We touched on it earlier, but Caroline, could you just explain a little bit more?
Yes. So as I said earlier, we don't formally stream the pupils. However, there's a huge amount going on in lessons that ensure that all the children are working at the level that's going to challenge and develop their learning. Lessons will be differentiated. So there'll be, we have something called Pink Think, that the more able will be sort of move on to a Pink Think challenge if they've completed the core of the work. We have learning assistants working across all the key stages, and particularly in maths and English. So they will be able to get alongside children that maybe need a bit more support. As I mentioned before, our learning and development team will work one-to-one with individuals on their maths and English skills, but will also take small groups for catch-up sessions. We sort of run catch-up sessions in amongst the timetables, so that those children that need to go over something again will be able to go over the basic skills again that they need to catch up on. And lessons very much are differentiated to meet those individual needs. Rachel talked earlier about questioning, and that's so important when you've got a class in front of you, that you target those questions to specific children to make sure that they're engaged and they're pushing their thinking a bit further forward.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got another one about chamber choir. Jane, would you say more about this?
Yes, we do have lots of opportunities for singing. We have a chamber choir, we have sing-along choirs, we have wonderful opportunity for, I just can't remember the net. Oh gosh, it's gone out of my head. Perhaps somebody else can jump in.
Soul Train. Soul Train,
that's it. So we have mini Soul Train. It's not running at the moment during COVID, but that is a fantastic opportunity for the girls to sing. That's led by a member of staff from senior school, and that choir, they perform on Foundation Day on the stage, Glastonbury like. So yes, plenty of opportunity for singing. Now, the chamber choir goes and performs in various parts, so they'll help at the opening the Christmas bazaar at a local church on a Saturday morning, so they do get out and about as well. But it's a fantastic opportunity for them to sing. They love their singing. A number of the girls also have voice lessons, so they'll have their individual singing lessons too with our visiting music teachers. Yeah, it's a great part of school life.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm going to put this one up because perhaps you could also have a look at this, the practicalities of drop off and pick up. Parking.
Right. Well, you do need to hear the truth. So Oxford traffic is not the easiest. But what we do run, and it proves very helpful, and again, this is under normal circumstances, so do bear with me, bear with us as well. So usually we have a drop-off system where cars can pull into the school car park and drop off between 7:45 and 8:30. We run a morning care, and the girls are supervised in school. It's very safe. It's a lovely opportunity for them. They come into school, they sit with their year groups, and this is for girls from nursery up to and including year 6. So I think if parents are willing to get here earlier, then it should be easier for you. If for parents coming closer to 8:30, then it can be a bit more tricky, but there are enough spaces in local streets to be able to drop off for a very short period of time. I think what I would say, it's very important to abide by the local traffic restrictions and looking at notices and so forth, so making sure parents are parking in appropriate places and not blocking drives. That can cause a bit of strife amongst our local neighbours. But it is doable. It is doable. The other thing that the school has put in place, and this is very successful, it has a number of bus routes, so over 9 bus routes. These operate start and end of day. And that's for children in Key Stage 2, so for children who are age 7 and above, year 3 and above. And we supervise those children once they are dropped off at the school, they're dropped off at senior school, and also at the end of the day when it's time to actually get them on the bus as well. So we do work with Oxfordshire County Council as well. Toby Parry, our assistant bursar, he's very much working with them, looking at what might be happening in terms of traffic and restrictions within Oxford. I hope that gives you a sense of traffic. Not straightforward, but doable. Especially if your daughter is doing aftercare, that's a provision that runs until 6 o'clock in the evening. Then at that point, once the main core of the pupil body have left, then we do say to parents, you may come in and use the car park. So early and later, it is easier.
Thank you. We have one last question, which I'm going to just put on the screen, about, do you have a proportion of girls with 2 full-time working parents and after-school clubs?
I would say the vast majority of our parents are 2 full-time working parents. And there are a number of girls, I'm sure Mrs. Fleming in early years and Miss Paice in Key Stage 1 would say, we do have a number of girls who stay on for after school clubs and care. Our after school clubs run till 4:30. Obviously the main aim of those clubs is to make sure those girls are doing something they really love doing. We do run aftercare as well, as I've said, and that runs until 6 o'clock. In COVID, we run, depends on the age range, because it's operating within bubbles, so that aftercare is stopping at different times. But our parent body, it's a fantastically supportive parent body, and we know they're incredibly busy because many of them are working. If one, it may be that one may be working full time, the other one may be working part time, or in many cases both are working full time.
Sorry, we do have one more question. When does school start for nursery? Shall I put Mrs. Fleming on? There we go. Mrs.
Rachel, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Sorry.
Okay, I've done that again. So sorry. Yes, it is from 3. I would say that we would take your daughter, depending on when her birthday is, within a term. We often take them within half terms as well. So we will take your daughter as a rising 3. And we are very flexible in our admissions. So we do part-time as well as full-time entry into our nursery. Very flexible in working with parents so that we can get the best possible admission for you. We would offer our minimum is 2 full days or 3 morning sessions, but right up to full time, 5 school days. But as Mrs. Crouch mentioned, we have the wraparound care from morning care right through to aftercare as well by very well qualified staff. So yes, it would be lovely to speak to you on a one-to-one basis if you want to talk more about our admission process into nursery.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. I believe that's all the questions that we have. So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we go? If not, I'll pass over to
I was just
Joan.
wondering about the question to do with early years. We were mentioning about, so for early years, if you're interested in that age group for your daughters starting, we've got some specific live teaching sessions for you to come and join. You know, we're very open as a school. We have parents prospective parents into school to visit us for coffee mornings and toddler Tuesdays. And so that the transition into our school is very smooth. Currently, of course, we can't do that, but we are having these live sessions. So we've already done live teaching sessions for phonics and maths. So you can see how that works from nursery up to reception. But we're offering those in our PE and our French and our music as well. So you can see the specialist sessions. We're very fortunate to have qualified teachers who teach specialist subjects right from nursery. So do get in touch with Eloise and she'll be able to tell you which dates we're running those. But we'd be lovely to see you join us for those too.
Yes, they'll all be running after half term. So if you're interested, please do get in touch and I'll be able to send you more information. And I believe that is all we have at the moment. So I'm going to hand you over to Jane before we all say goodbye. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I am.
We look very similar. Can I say thank you so much. Thank you to my team for being here on Saturday morning. Thank you to Eloise for hosting us all, managing, clicking us in and out. And thank you to you as well. I hope you found the session informative and you've been able to ask the questions that were on your mind. Do have a look at the website and please do email any questions in as well. Sometimes Eloise will ping a question across. And as Mrs. Fleming did say, if you do have children you're considering early years, it is a wonderful setting for them. Nobody's asked about Forest School, where they go and an amazing time in senior school on a Thursday morning. But do tune in to some of those live sessions because that gives you a real sense of the relationship between the teacher and the children and how the children are learning, which is absolutely critical. And just their happiness as well. They certainly make us smile as they come in on a daily basis. So do continue, do keep in touch, and any further questions, do send them in. But thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.